Hi everyone, welcome to another video development tip. Today we're going to be looking at initializing your collections in your models in the constructor to help avoid null collections and take away some of those checks. So for this project, we just have a simple ASP.NET Core 2.2 app, and we're also using an Entity Framework in-memory core database. That part is not as important, just another thing I'm going to show you. And so in our startup, all we're doing is we're adding our context, telling it to use an in-memory database. If you want to see something with in-memory database, I have a testing video for this about how to use in-memory database for testing. In our program.cs, all I'm doing is I'm creating our scope before we actually run the website to initialize our database. This is actually the first video I did, so if you want to check that out, I'll have a little thing up in the corner for you to click on that video. And what else do we have? So in our data, our entities, we only have two tables. We have an order, which has an ID, name, and a collection of items. Inside our items, we have ID, name, order ID, and the order it belongs to. And then in our initializer, which I should have put in the data folder, all I'm doing is adding two orders to our database on startup. Inside our context, we just have two tables. So we also have one controller, and inside this controller, it's a pretty simple controller. It has two methods on it, a get and a post. This one we're getting the count of a certain order. All we're doing is, which is not best practice, we're injecting the context straight into our controller just for ease of use and reading, and getting that one with ID, making sure it's not null, and then returning the count. On our post, all we're doing is making sure the order has items, and if it doesn't, return a bad request because we require to have items. And then we just create that order and add the items to that order and save it off and return a 200. So here's what our order model looks like. It takes the customer ID, name, and a list of items. Our item model is just an item ID and name. So what happened here is we're taking order model into the post, and we're going to say make sure there's items. So if we run this right now, go over Postman. Let's actually run the app first. We're going to do a .NET run. Let's do a .NET watch run actually. What it's going to do with the watch is it'll make sure whenever a file gets updated, it'll recompile the app and then automatically apply your changes. So with it running on localhost 5000, let's go to Postman and send a API request to localhost 5000 /API, which you can see in the route, / the controller, which is order controller. So all we're doing is we're sending the name parameter in there. As you can see in the model, it takes in the name. And what we're going to see happen when it sends is we get an internal server error. So what happened here? Let's go take a look at the console in VS Code. Unhandled exception occurred on line 38. So let's click on it and see what's line 38. Okay, so we kind of see what happened here. We didn't send anything items, and it was null. So it would be a null reference exception here. Yep, argument null exception value cannot be null. We were at, so that will actually be the null reference right here on the count, since items is a null list. One way to get rid of this, right, would be just saying if order.items is null, or order.items count equals 0, right? We run this, file change, starting back the app. We run this, we get a bad request, right? Orders must have items. Great, fixes the problem. Except, actually, in my opinion, a better way to do this. Because every time you have a collection, you're always like, oh, is it null? Did someone set it null later on? Let's avoid that code everywhere. So let's get rid of this and actually go down to our model where we're actually doing this at. So in our order model, what we can do in the constructor is we can initialize this list when you create a new order model. So items equals new list of item model. So what this will do now, instead of doing that is null check, we can come back over here and run this again, and we'll get the order must have items. So what's happening is when they do the model binding here and they create a new order model, constructor gets called and actually initializes a list. And just to make sure that's not overriding a list you send it, we can actually try that real quick. I remember what it was. So items takes an array, and an item requires a name on it at least. So we'll give it a name. Alex. I'm an item, I guess. And this time, let's actually just put a breakpoint here to see it. So I'm going to put a breakpoint on this right here, and we're going to go up here and start with debugging. Okay, let's make sure it runs. Alright, so we're off to the races here. So we send this, we should hit the breakpoint, we did. Now if you look at items, we actually have one in there now. As you can see, it didn't get overwritten or nothing, it's still working as expected. So that works as expected. So let's actually look at another tip here. If we don't want anyone actually messing with our list, we can actually get rid of the set. What this is doing is saying we have the only way to actually set this list is to set it to constructor, making it pretty much a read-only at that point. What we can still do is obviously you still can add to the list. You can you can come up here and do order.items.add and still do that. What you can't do, you can't say order items equals null. As you can see, it cannot be assigned. It is a read-only, which is great, which means you can trust anyone's application. This list will have items in it, or will have a collection, not items in it, sorry. It will not be a null collection. So that is the tip for the model here. Another thing you can also do, which I do in most of all my apps, for my entities, I'll do the same thing. So if you take a collection up here, I'll go in the constructor, and I will set items to, a new hash set or something along that line. So I don't ever have to worry about the database giving back a null collection from the entity layer. It will always have something in there. It just makes your code more readable, and you can kind of guarantee that you'll never be passing around null collections. If you have any questions, let me know. Leave comments. And the source for this will be in the GitHub in the description below. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.